All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to unpack a powerful 400-year-old system designed by samurai warriors for mastering pretty much any skill with incredible speed. And here's the secret. It's not about grinding harder, it's about learning smarter.
You know how some people just pick up a new skill like instantly? Whether it's a guitar or a new language, they just seem to get it, while the rest of us might struggle for years. And we usually just kind of say, oh, they're talented. But what if I told you that's just a myth?
Yeah, the secret isn't in your DNA, it's a system. And this isn't some new age hack. We're talking about a time-tested method forged over centuries by warriors and monks in feudal Japan. For them, learning fast wasn't a hobby. It was literally life or death. So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with where this whole system came from. Then we'll break down the three big principles: Shoshin, the beginner's mind; Shuhari, the path to mastery; and Mushin, the state of flow. And finally, we'll see how you can put this to work in your own life. So let's be clear. This is not some productivity tip you'll find on a blog. For samurai, if you didn't master your sword skills and fast, you died. Simple as that. That kind of pressure, that life or death reality, it forced them to create maybe one of the most efficient learning systems ever. Okay, so the first and honestly the most important principle is Shoshin. It's all about your mindset. It's about what's going on in your head before you even start learning a single thing. So, picture this. A young warrior, he's won a few duels, he's feeling pretty good about himself. He walks into a master's dojo, full of confidence. And what's the first thing the master tells him? Forget everything you think you know. See, the master knew the warrior's biggest enemy wasn't his opponent. It was his own ego.
Right, so this is what Shoshin is. It literally means beginner's mind. And let's be really clear, this isn't about playing dumb. It's about dropping that little voice in your head that says, oh, I got this, I know this already. It's about being an empty cup, ready to be filled.
And you can see the difference right here. It's night and day. On one side, you've got the expert mind, the ego that makes you skip the basics and fight new ideas. But on the other, you have the beginner's mind. It's humble. It's curious. It's not afraid to ask the stupid questions, right? It's all about absorbing, not defending. And get this isn't just some ancient philosophy. There's real science to back it up. A Stanford psychologist, Dr. Carol Dweck, she researched what she calls a growth mindset, which is pretty much the modern term for Shoshin. And her findings, people with this open, beginner's attitude can learn up to 40% faster. 40%? That's huge. Okay, so you've got the right mindset. Your cup is empty, you're ready to learn. Now what? Well, that's where our second principle, Shuhari, comes in. Think of this as your roadmap to mastery. Shuhari is basically a three-step process. Super simple, but incredibly powerful. First, you have Shu. This means to obey. At this stage, you just copy the master. Perfectly. No questions, no improvising. You're just building that rock-solid foundation. Then comes Ha, which means to break. Once you've completely mastered the basics, then you can start to experiment. And finally, you reach Ri, to transcend. This is where you're not just following the rules anymore. You're making your own. Let's make this super concrete. Say you want to learn to write. In the Shu stage, you might literally copy out the work of a great author to feel their rhythm. In Ha, you start mixing their techniques with your own voice. And in Ri, your style becomes uniquely yours. The problem is, so many of us try to jump straight to Ri, and that's exactly why we get stuck. And listen, this is not a weekend project. I mean, look at Miyamoto Musashi, one of the greatest swordsmen who ever lived. He said he only felt he reached the Ri stage, where he truly transcended the rules, when he was 50 years old. 50. So yeah, this is a journey. All right, so we've got the mindset, Shoshin. We've got the roadmap, Shuhari. So where are we going? What's the destination? Well, that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the state of Mushin. Mushin, it literally means mind without mind. It's that state of pure flow, of effortless action, where the skill is so deeply burned into your nervous system that you don't have to think anymore. You're not thinking about what to do, you're just doing it. And before you think this is some mystical, out-of-reach thing, trust me, you've been there. You know that feeling when you're driving home and you just appear in your driveway? You don't remember the last few miles? Or when you're typing so fast you're not even thinking about the keys? Yup. That's a taste of Mushin. So what's actually going on here? It's your brain being incredibly efficient. As you practice a skill over and over, your brain moves it from the part that does conscious, heavy thinking to the parts that handle automatic actions. It's basically freeing up processing power so you can perform at the highest level. Okay, so we've covered these 3 incredible ideas. The real question is, how do we put it all together? How do you actually use this stuff starting today? It really boils down to this simple, powerful system. First, start with Shoshin. Drop the ego. Be an empty cup. Second, follow the Shu Hari map. Copy first, then adapt, and only then create. And third, practice. Practice until you reach motion, that state where the skill is just part of you, totally effortless. You know, the most powerful thing about this whole system is the message behind it. It tells us that talent is a myth. What's real is the method, the process. The samurai weren't born with some special gift. They had a better way to learn. They followed a system. Look, this system was forged in the fire of life and death combat. It works. It's just as powerful today for learning an instrument, a new career, anything. So I'll leave you with this one question. You have the method now. You have the map. What will you master?